Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And the NFL schedule has been released for all 32 teams. So we're going to kind of make this a series. We're going to do I'm going to say 4 episodes where we're going to do the AFC North and South. We're going to do the AFC East and West. And the same thing with the NFC North, South, East, and West. So let's first begin with the AFC North. So we're going to start out in Baltimore, because they did, in fact, win their division a la last year. If I can get to it, there we go. So the beginning of the season starts September 7th, as we all found out yesterday. The Ravens have a tough test on Sunday Night Football, 8 o'clock. Ravens versus Bills. That's the first game. That's going to be an unbelievable game. I'm actually really happy with how the schedule turned out, because it starts off with we're going to throw a straight right hook in this. We're going to go right at you, as we'll talk about in a couple days from now, about the NFC side of this and how that season starts for each of those teams. But the Ravens and Bills, I like that matchup. Then they go on to week 2, Browns at Ravens. So the Ravens were on the road at Buffalo. Now they're home for the Browns. Then the Lions come to town on September 22nd. That's an 8:15 game. No determination of when that game is. I think that's either a Monday night game or a Thursday night game. Then the Ravens go on the road to face the Kansas City Chiefs. That's a 4:25 game. Then they go back home to face the Texans on October 5th. That's a 1 o'clock game. Then they face the Ravens face the Rams on the 12th of October. That's a 1 o'clock game. The 26th of October. So we're jumping forward here. Their bye week's fairly early. They face the Bears as the Chicago Bears come to town. Then the Ravens go back on the road on Thursday night to face the Dolphins. They continue on the road onto November 9th, where they go on the road to Minnesota. Then they stay on the road again until to go face the Cleveland Browns. Back at home for the Jets. That's the 23rd of November. Then on Thanksgiving, they face the Bengals at home. Then we get the matchup with the Steelers. So the latest matchup Then they're on the road again to face the Bengals. So they go Bengals 2 out of 3 weeks. Then they are back home for the Patriots, on the road for the Packers. That one's to be determined. And then the last game, they're on the road again against the Steelers. So it's kind of a who's who. I want to explain the strength of schedule really quickly before we jump into what the Bengals were doing in their schedule. The way strength of schedule works is it goes on the teams that made the playoffs. So if your team makes the playoffs, therefore, they're harder on your schedule. So I'll give you an example. You face the Ravens, where the Ravens made the playoffs. Therefore, the schedule makers say that's a tougher team. But if you don't make the playoffs, that's an easier team to face. That's how that works. It doesn't factor in free agent, doesn't factor in draft, doesn't factor in anything. Just how they played last year. Next up, we have the Bengals, who start the season on the road in Cleveland. That's a 1 o'clock game. The Bengals, the way they finished up last year, I thought was very impressive. They just had such a bad beginning. And it wasn't because their offense was unbelievable. It was their defense was so lacking to the point they ended up bringing in a new defensive coordinator, getting rid of Lou Anarumo, who they've had for many years. They start in Cleveland. Then they go home in week 2 to face Jacksonville. Then they're back on the road against the Vikings on September 21st. The 29th of September, so this is a Monday night game. They are on the road in Denver. Back home for the Lions on October 5th. And then back on the road again against the Packers. Home against the Steelers on the 16th of October. That's a Thursday nighter. Then 10 days later, home again for the Jets. Home also for the Bears. Back on the road on November 16th against the Steelers. Home for the Patriots on the 23rd of November. The 27th of November is the Ravens. That's the Thanksgiving matchup. Then they're on the road again for the Bills. That's a 425 matchup. At home for Ravens on December 14th. On the road on December 21st in Miami against the Dolphins. Home for Arizona on the 27th of December. And then home again for the Browns. So they actually have a very long time. The first time they faced the Browns to the last time they faced the Browns is week 1, the first time. And then week 18 is the second time. So that's a very big difference of you don't tackle in training camp anymore. You don't tackle in mini camp anymore. So you don't have those reps. So week 1, I assume, is going to be a very high scoring game. And week 18, you're fighting for either a roster spot or you're just fighting to get a better roster spot or you're fighting for nothing. That's kind of how this works. So it's going to be interesting, but it's a very long, different period of time. Next up, Steelers. So the Steelers, they didn't have a good season, and I'm still bamboozled about who their quarterback is going to be. But they start out on the road against the Jets. Then they are home against the Seahawks, back on the road against the Patriots the 21st of September. Those 3 are all 1 o'clock games. Then they are in London against the Vikings. That's considered a home game for them. That's the 9:30 matchup on September 28th. Then they hit their bye week. They're at home versus the Browns. Then they go on the road against the Bengals on the 16th of October. Packers 10 days later. So that Steelers-Bengals game is a Thursday nighter. Colts-Steelers, that's another home game on November 2nd. November 9th, they are on the road against the Chargers. Then they're back at home against the Bengals. That Chargers-Steelers game is a Sunday nighter. Then they're on the road in Chicago on the 23rd of November. Home for the Bills. Then they're on the road again against the Ravens in December, the 7th of December. Dolphins visit the Steelers on December 15th, my bad. On the road in Detroit on the 21st. The 28th of December, they are on the road in Cleveland, my bad. And then to finish up the year, they finish with the Ravens on January 4th. So not so much. They're at home for that game. It's like, that's a very long period of time. Like, that's a tough month at the end. They go Ravens, Dolphins, who don't play great in the winter. Lions, Browns. You got 3 of the 5. 3 of the 5. Divisional games. That's tough for them. Moving on into the Browns. Here we go. So the Browns, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. So let's just wait to see what we got there. They started the season at home for the second straight year against the Bengals. That's the first. They were at home last year. They started at home again this year, this time against the Bengals. Then they're on the road against Baltimore, home for the Packers on September 21st. Those are all 1 o'clock games. They continue on the 1 o'clock path with the Browns and Lions as they visit the Lions. Then they are in an international game against the Vikings. That's considered a home game for them. On the road against Pittsburgh. At home against the Dolphins on October 19th. On the road against the Patriots. On the road again against the Jets. Home for Baltimore. That's the first game. Baltimore is the first game they Browns play in the 4:25 window. Other than that, they've played 9:30 game against the Vikings or 1 o'clock games. They continue at the 4 o'clock window as they face the Raiders in Las Vegas. Then back to the 1 o'clock games we go against the 49ers. They're home for that game. Titans visit the Browns on the 7th of December, another 1 o'clock. Browns go on the road against the Bears on the 14th of December. Browns go back home. The two of the last three games, they face the Bills in Cleveland. They face the Steelers in Cleveland. And then they are on the road against the Bengals. Let's see. Let me go back. So after the Raiders game, they finish up with 1 o'clock game. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that could be 6, depending the TBD for the Browns Bengals. They finish up the last 5 of the last 6 are 1 o'clock games. That explains how bad the Browns have been, at least in the schedule maker's mind, over the last season or two. All right, let's jump into the AFC South now. Let's start with the Houston Texans, who won their division. They go on the road week 1 against the Rams. That's a 4:25 game. Then they're home for the Buccaneers. That's a Monday night game. Then they're on the road against Jacksonville, the first divisional game. Then they're home for the Titans on the 28th of September. On the road against the Ravens on October 5th. That's a 1 o'clock. And then October 20th, so they have their bye week really early. Texans at Seattle. They're calling that a 10 o'clock p.m. game. So to me, I'm a little slow on that, exactly how that works. I would assume that's a Monday nighter. I would assume. I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% sure. Then they go back home. They face the 49ers. 6 days later. So I would assume that's a Monday nighter. Between the Texans and Seahawks. Broncos versus Texans on the 2nd of November. In Houston, I should say. Home for Jacksonville. Texans at Titans on November 16th. Then on a Thursday night, they face the Bills at home. On the 20th. So let's see where we were. Oh yeah, Bills Texans. That's the 20th of November. That's the Thursday night. Then they're on the road against the Colts on November 30th. On the road again against the Chiefs, December 7th. December 14th, they're home against the Cardinals. December 21st, they're home against the Raiders. Back on the road to to face the Chargers on the 27th of December. That's TBD. And then back home against the Colts on January 4th, which is TBD. So they only faced the Colts in late November in January. That's a very long time to have a first divisional game. But it's also, it's a good stretch at the end for the Texans. They face Houston early December. They go Colts, Chiefs, Cardinals, Raiders, Chargers, Texans. But they go and finish off with a positive for the Houston Texans. Next, we have the Jaguars, who start off the season at home against the Carolina Panthers. So that's going to be really interesting, actually. Two young quarterbacks in Trevor Lawrence and Bryce Young. So I kind of can't wait to see that one. Then they're on the road against the Bengals, back at home against the Texans, on the road against San Francisco. That's their first 4:00 game. Then they'll face the Chiefs on a Monday night. My bad. Monday night. Hold on. Okay, we're back. Great. And then we got the Seahawks go on the road against Jacksonville on October 12th. They stay home for 3 straight weeks as they continue with the Rams at home. That's in London. Then they're on the road against the Raiders. That's a tough matchup to go, even though they do have a bye week. It's still, they got to jump from London to Las Vegas. They stay on the road to face the Houston Texans November 9th. Back at home against the Chargers on the 16th of November. On the road again against the Cardinals on the 23rd. Stay on the road against the Titans on the 30th of November. Back home versus the Colts December 7th. Home against the Jets December 14th. Jacksonville goes back on the road against the Broncos on the 21st of December. Continues on the road against the Colts on the 28th of December. And then back at home on January 4th against the Titans. So they kind of like a healthy mix of their last 6 games. 4 of them are at home, 2 or 3 of them are on the road. So that's a healthy mix to have. Now it's jumped to the Titans. So I was disappointed with the Titans last year. I thought they'd be better than they were. Their first test starts right away. They faced the Broncos. That's a 4:00 game. Then they are at home. They were on the road against the Broncos. Now they're at home against the Rams. They continue to be at home against the Colts on the 21st of September. On the road against the Cardinals. That's a night game. Not a night game, but an afternoon 4:00 game. Home against the Patriots. On the road against the Colts. That's also the Patriots-Titans game is a Mike Vrabel revenge game. Then they stay at home. And then they go back home against the Titans. The Titans go back home against the Chargers, Stay at home for 4 weeks, 4 weeks. Home against the Chargers, home against the Texans, home against the Seahawks, home against the Jaguars. All of those are 1:00 games. They do have a bye week from November 2nd, but I digress. November 2nd to the 16th. That's the difference between the Chargers and Titan game to the Texans and Titans game. Then they're on the road for the first time in a month against the Browns On the road again against the 49ers in December 14. Home against the Chiefs. Home against the Saints. On the road against the Jaguars. So they actually do have a very nice home stretch where they don't leave home for like a month. For like 5 weeks. That's very impressive. And then they finish off with being home two out of the last 4 and 2 out of the last 5. So that's pretty good. And then to finish up, we got the Colts. I'm going to try to do this one a little more quickly. Home against the Dolphins to start off the year. Home against the Broncos. That's a 4:05 game, on September 14. On the road against the Titans on September 21st. On the road against the Rams on the 28th of September. Home against the Raiders on October 5th. Home against the Cardinals on October 12th. On the road again against the Chargers on October 19th. At home versus the Titans on October 26th. On the road against Pittsburgh November 2nd. At home against the Falcons on the 9th of November. They have their bye week. On the road against Kansas City. It's a 1 o'clock game. At home versus the Texans on the 30th of December. On the road against Jacksonville on the 7th of December. Stay on the road against Seattle December 14th. On the 22nd of December, they face the 49ers at home. They stay at home versus Jacksonville on the 28th of December. And then to finish off the year, they're on the road against Houston. So they have a good, healthy stretch. But they stay pretty good. That Seattle game's the only thing on the West Coast, I think. Let me check. I'm just trying to make sure I got it all. Because where's the 49er again? That's the one I'm focused on. Yeah. So Seattle is the only game outside of the Rams that the Colts have to go on the West Coast. And that the first time the time they go against the Rams is in September. They don't go back onto the West Coast until December. That's a good amount of staying at least on one side of the country. So that's the schedules for the AFC North and the AFC South. Let me know in the comments, who do you think is going to have the best schedules out of the divisions that we just said? Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and Browns for the AFC North. Texans, Colts, Titans, or Jaguars in the AFC South. Let me know in the comment section. While you're there, like, share, and subscribe. It's absolutely free. Helps our channel out a ton. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hewitt.